And we give it a couple of minutes or seconds. And we will find out. I believe we are live. I think we're live. Brother Chase, I think we are rocking and rolling. Yeah, we are. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the G Show podcast. I am G1, and this is our God of War Ragnarok spoiler review. And I gotta be honest, holy crap. Took a minute to beat this game, playing it, which felt like forever. It felt like forever playing this game. But finally took it down yesterday. And yeah, we're gonna talk about that. What we thought, all the fun stuff that goes along with reviewing a game. And joining me is my right hand when it comes to Godzilla on the G Show, even though this isn't a Godzilla podcast. My brother G73, a.k.a. Chase, a.k.a. Megzy. What the hell's up?
Gosh, man, just trying to wake up. I was up till at least 5 last night playing. Finished it right at like 5 o'clock. I think 5:03 is when I turned it off. I was like, all right, I'm done.
My God, man, I think I was waking up at that time. But that's how I was. That's how I was on Wednesday night into Thursday. We instead of God of War, we do an annual Gears of War pre-Turkey Day marathon. We do a horde session, and it's usually me, my brother, one of my best friends back in Brooklyn, his cousin, and my nephew. Right? We do the 5-man. Well, my boy in Brooklyn now, his son, I think he's 6 now or something, and he introduced him to God of War, Gears of War. So his son wants to horde with us. So I'm like, all right, well, we can only have 5 men. So we let the little guy play, and then somebody will jump in later when it's time for him to go to bed. Well, that little guy was not trying to go to sleep at all. He was playing. I was like, oh. Uh-oh. My brother was nice enough to jump out because he plays something on PlayStation with some of his boys. But then we finally got him in, and then I was like, all right, it's gonna be hard, but we gotta do something. And I don't think my boys back east are gonna be up, past a certain time. Yeah, no, dude. We played till about 2:30 our time, Pacific time. So it was like the sun was already getting up over there. And yeah, we wind up failing on wave 50 of the horde. It was terrible.
Oh, that was close, though.
Yeah, it was. But what sucked was, after a night of binge drinking and playing Gears of War, and I didn't eat nothing all day, now it's time to eat at 2:30 in the morning, which is never a good thing, ever. So I ate, and then I had to stay up a little bit to digest my food, which wasn't even working because, my stomach was acting up. And the next thing you know, my alarm is going off because I forgot to shut it off. My work alarm is going off at 4:20 in the morning. And I'm like, yeah, well, guess I'm up. It's Thanksgiving. Everybody be merry. Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. I was a freaking zombie on Thanksgiving. I was a freaking zombie. But anyhow, yeah. Gears of War aside, it's God of War time. God of War Ragnarok. We're going to talk about this game. We're going to go into spoilers. We're going to... I don't know if I can say review the shit out of it because there's so much I already forgot about, But I definitely want to go through some of this game's best parts. Talk about this game as a whole. We talked a little bit. Was it last week we did a podcast where we brought this game in? We did it.
Yeah.
We'll elaborate a lot more on that. Without me arguing this time, we're gonna keep it peaceful and civil. That's what we're gonna plan to at least. And then do we think it's gonna be our game of the year? Where does this rank in the God of War pantheon? So buckle up. Why did I say buckle up? I don't know, but hang on. We're gonna talk about it right now. Let's get right into it. God of War Ragnarok, sequel to 2018's revamp of God of War, which was seen by many as like a highlight of Sony's PlayStation catalog. Um, I like the game. Mixed reviews. They took a formula, in my personal opinion, that wasn't broken, and then they tried to fix it, and that upset me. Uh, I hated the control scheme. I hated the direction. I hated that they changed uh, Kratos' actor. I hated all of that. I hated it, but then I played it and I loved it, and I was like, yeah, no, this is a good game. It's a good game, especially when especially when you finally get those blades of chaos and you're like, time out, what the fuck is going on here? Like then all of a sudden it became God of War and it was so much fun. And then, changing the buttons to fit a traditional God of War playstyle. I thoroughly, I'm not going to say thoroughly, but I did enjoy it. My second go through, which was earlier this year, about 3 months ago this year, I had a lot more fun playing it. I didn't 100% complete it. I still had a couple of Valkyries to go and kick some ass, but I did have fun. I knew where the story was going. I was getting myself psyched up for Ragnarok. And then here comes Ragnarok, a game that's probably double in size of the original 2018 game. It's ridiculous in scope. And they went back to the if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which I give mad props and I respect. But I personally did not know how they were going to craft this tale. Because to me, I think the God of War series in general, it's about this story, right? I loved the ancient Greece, the Greek mythology. I loved those pantheon of gods. I loved that it was a revenge story, and Kratos he was the God of War. He was a hack and slash, gave no fucks monster. And I enjoyed running through those games like that. And I enjoyed the story it was telling. I enjoyed all of it. 2018, I was like, okay, they went in a new direction. They let you know this is Kratos, all this stuff. I wanted to know where they was taking it here. Because we saw the prophecy at the end of the first one. Atreus is holding Kratos. This was nuts. The story of this game so far, Chase, it has hit on every freaking level imaginable. I loved it. From beginning to end, I loved this story. I absolutely did. Absolutely did. I thought there's one thing I didn't like. I'll get to that with my dislikes. But for the most part, I absolutely love this story. I love the portrayal of the characters. I love the depiction of the characters. I love that Odin was a gangster. I loved all this stuff. I loved it. I like the coming of age story with Atreus. Really dug it. I really did. And I gotta be honest, they found the perfect balance with the switching between Kratos and Atreus. Because usually when a game does that, I kind of get mad. I'm like, oh, I gotta play as the second fiddle character. I actually loved the Atreus parts in this game.
Yeah, it was the middle finger rebuttal to The Last of Us Part 2.
That's funny. I dug it. I really did. Atreus' movesets were great. His melee stuff. I had a lot of fun, and I really did like following him along with Thor, Thud, Thor's daughter, whatever her name was.
Yeah, Thud is right.
The interaction between him and Odin, like it hit, man. It hit right. It hit right. It wasn't the what you would think of a Norse god. They weren't talking like Mimir. They weren't talking with Kenith, Beith. They were just talking. I loved it. All of that stuff, man. Man, it's just such a fun fucking game when you get down to it, like with the story and stuff. But let me stop rambling. What did you think so far? Like, what did you think of this story overall, and your just opinions on this game?
I I absolutely loved the story. Um, I'm a sucker for story elements that are emotional, and this game had multiple parts that just made me feel very like teary eyed, misty eyed. Uh, but yeah, start. There wasn't really anything with the story that I had at all. Maybe up until the the very end, and even then, it's not really a matter of like me disliking it. It's a matter of something doesn't add up,
Mm.
and I'm like trying to figure out what that is. And because of two things that happened, and from what it was setting up to happen in the very, and then like you know, like especially with the prophecy of Kratos supposed to die and stuff like that, the way they like addressed that later in the game, I felt was kind of like a big like kind of like a sweep under the rug. And I'm like, okay, that's, I mean, like, I'm not like upset about it, but I'm like, I'm kind of like, if you aren't paying attention, you would be like, you probably wouldn't even notice it. But because it was on the back of my mind, wondering when is this going to happen. I was kind of like like expecting there to be this big part to where they address that and have to deal with it, and then it just doesn't happen. And so I understand how that changed, and but I wish as they were writing or bringing forth how they were going to add the frames and the footage they've made, I wish that part that established, okay, this is not going to happen anymore, was a little bit more like obvious and in your face, instead of like this, oh yeah, you just ended up accepting fate. And that's pretty much what changed the prophecy. And I'm like, I feel funny about that because I feel like that's kind of like, it's like, oh, this, it made it feel like it wasn't really supposed to happen, but they just wanted to add the tension to it. Um, because I mean, like, if we're talking spoilers,
Yeah, we are.
you know,
Full spoilers.
From the last game, the 2018 game, it's clear that the person in the mural is not Kratos, anyways. And in this game, it ends up as well not being Kratos. And I was surprised when the game started and they address like, oh, Kratos saw himself dying, and then Atreus like, yeah, I saw you die, and it's like, okay, I mean, the reason they didn't bring Mimir to Jotunheim in the first game like that, obviously he says it was because he doesn't want to ruin the moment with a decaying head. But we all know it's because we don't want Mimir to decipher. They didn't want Mimir to decipher that Jotunheim shrine of who is that on the mural. Now in the and now when the game picks up again and they talk about it, it's like, oh, okay, so they must have like. I was confused because and mind you, I played God of War 2018 and I watched pretty much every interview and everything known to man for it, and I was under the impression that they knew exactly who that character was, and there were these giveaways that explained subtly that yeah, that's not Kratos. But then it was kind of like they forgot. I don't know if they forgot about it or they just wanted to act like nobody was paying attention. But they set it up to like, oh yeah, never mind. We're gonna make you think that is Kratos, which in the end of 2018, you are supposed to be left with that. But if you're paying attention to the murals, that the way Kratos is depicted in every mural, he's always facing right, and and you see, or facing left, and you see the Ghost of Sparta tattoo in every mural he's in, and even in the Ragnarok game when Kratos is on, it's the same thing. But the character that's dying in the mural does not have any of the markings or any of his attire or anything. So it's like, who is that? And at one point, the fandom was speculating, oh, it's one of the dwarfs, Sindri or Brock. And then it turns out that it ends up, spoiler, being Odin. And not that I'm upset with that, because I don't want Kratos to die. I always want it to be left up for more God of War stuff. But what I will say is at that point, with all of that, when they just basically say that Kratos gave in to what was and learned that he's been telling it wrong to Atreus the whole time, that he needs to accept love and be trusting to people, and like how that somehow changed the prophecy. Unless there's something I'm missing, I have no clue. But that's the only thing I gather, that Kratos really changed in this, aside from giving his son more of the reins on how they're doing this. That's the only thing that Kratos really changes. And I just think that was kind of like, yeah, we're just gonna like move past it. That's not going to be the point of this. And ultimately, for me, with the overall, it felt like I think maybe you and I both feel this way, but now that I finished it and have gone from point A to point Z with this game, and knowing that not only is the sound not finished and the character rendering is broken on certain enemies, I'm definitely going to admit that this game was not supposed to come out yet.
Mm.
I definitely feel like this game was not ready yet. I feel like
so you're talking from straight technical standpoints.
Yeah, technical standpoints.
Okay.
And also with where they left the game. I don't know. I mean, if this is supposed to be the end of the Norse mythology, with what happens to Brock and the way Sindri is acting to everyone now, that doesn't seem like a Sindri that's going to be very forgiving. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Have Sindri fuck everything up? You know, I don't see him becoming a villain, but it's like, it feels like you have one big loose end for this game that has a huge happy ending for multiple characters, but him. And it's like, obviously when a game sets that up, it sets it up for a reason to do that. So it's like, in my mind, I mean, Santa Monica Studios doesn't really do DLCs, like story mission DLCs. So it's like, I don't know if they're leaving that for, well, maybe we can figure something out. Maybe they do plan for a DLC. I don't know. I mean, they said they were done with the Norse mythology, and they said they were done. They said there would not be any DLCs for this game. So you're left with this big kind of open thing where, you know, yes, Kratos has his whole redemption arc. You know, he's now worshipped by people, and he's loved now. And it doesn't show him being loved. It shows him that he's on the path to being worshipped and not feared anymore. So that could be open to things that interfere to where someone tries to stop him from that, maybe. I don't know. But I'm definitely a little bit confused with this loose end, and also, you know, with the whole Atreus thing. It's like, you know, what does that mean for Sun now jumping off with his girlfriend to go find more gods, you know? And that could also lead into a whole nother thing. So I definitely think it's highly possible to get a continuation, but as far as So let me also elaborate too with Kratos where he's at. I loved this Kratos who still had the you could tell still has this disconnect, but you can tell he's also trying at the same time to kind of come, which feels like comes towards a little bit more optimistic reality for him for the first time.
Oh yeah, you see that a lot, especially when you're rolling around with Freya, and she's talking about how could you leave the wolves like this? Like pet them, comb their hair, don't let them be matted. And then he comes around to like that. I know what you're saying. Where
Right.
he starts to warm up to things in this game, even though it's
Yeah.
Fimbulwinter throughout.
And so I loved those moments, and I loved seeing, and honestly, I loved seeing an emotional Kratos. I felt like, this is a side of Kratos I haven't seen, and I like seeing it because it's something different, something fresh, and it makes sense. So I'm just confused, like, what could they do? What could happen going forth? But I'm also like, I'm unsure what any of that means. But I mean, I don't know. I love the game. It's definitely. I mean, I love the 2018 game was my favorite, just my favorite PlayStation game. Of and now with Ragnarok, I do love. Just with having it beaten it just a couple hours ago. At like 5 in the morning. I'm not sure where I place it, if it's my favorite out of the two now or not. It definitely was fun. I loved the story better. The combat was more fun, and the armor customization is more fun. But there are things where I still feel like I need to process more to really think about that, or at least play the story one more time. I don't. I got. I mean, I'm gonna eventually go for the 100% completion. But if I do that again, I'm not going to play it on Give Me God of War mode. I'm probably going to just put it on like really easy difficulty and just go straight through another story round. But where there were just multiple things that I've just kind of felt like there were some loose ends. Um, I I mean, like I said, I loved it. I thought it was. I still think it was a great game. Everything about it was fun. Um, and the story was great.
So
But I do feel like at some parts it felt like other than other than Brock dying, we didn't lose anybody else that was really severe to the story.
Freya.
And that was a little bit like disappointing because I expected at least someone a little bit more important than Brock to go.
Brock is extremely important in this game.
Oh yeah,
Extremely. They even give him more character depth when Sindri tells Atreus early on, like, "Hey, Brock doesn't know this, but he died, and I brought him back, but I didn't bring all of him back. I missed a part of
right,
his soul." And then I love that when Atreus and Kratos are walking through the world tree to go to different realms, Atreus is asking Mimir, "Hey, when you die, how does the soul work?" And he's like, "Oh, your soul's broken up into 4 parts, luck, whatever it is." And I love that because it's Atreus trying to figure out, without telling them, if he can go tell Sindri, "Hey, we can try to go and save Brock's soul, that other piece, so you would feel good about it." But then at the end, of course, he dies, and there's no coming
yeah.
back from this death.
What I mean by what I was saying, I thought at least one more other person would die. Like even that one guy in Vanaheim that sacrifices himself for the dragons.
Yeah,
Um,
that's Freya's brother.
no, no,
Oh,
no, 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 no.
oh, Bulgur.
Remember when they're in the boat
Yeah, the
flying?
traveler.
Yeah.
So you didn't continue that because he
No, I
ain't dead.
did.
He's not
I
dead.
did. What I was saying. That's why I brought it up.
Ah,
I like they make it up where they make it up where he's supposed to. He left off thinking he's dead, but then when you find out, oh, he's not. dead. He's actually alive. I'm like, okay, so all I'm saying is I expected another big vital character to on the protagonist team to go. But
you had it though. You did kind of get it. You all right? So to me personally, I see what you're saying, but to me personally, I think we got three outside of Brock who died. You had Brock, obviously, right? Yeah, they didn't go into insane detail, but the way the way Freya's arc starts with her trying to kill Kratos and Atreus, and to where it ends, the characters that come along with her story, her brother Freyr. He was a
right,
cool, funny ass character. Like, he was like a goofball. He was he was more of a comic relief than the actual dwarves, because of his outlook towards life. He's just like, hey man, let's just do it, dude. Right?
yeah,
So his sacrifice at the end was one, right? You had that one. Um Tyr, very important because Tyr is dead the whole time and we don't know that. It's Odin in disguise. So that's two. That's a big. That matter of fact, we get two deaths right there. You get Brock's death and you get the death of Tyr because now we find out it's been Odin this entire time. You know what I mean?
Spoiler alert: you do find the real Tyr if you keep playing.
Oh fuck! Thanks. You shouldn't have told me that, bro. God damn. You could have not said that. Fuck.
Oh, I thought you would have noticed.
No, I didn't notice. Fuck. But then in the third one, in the third death, in all honesty, it was Thor.
Oh yeah,
That was huge because he was coming around. He was like, "All right, I'm fucking," done. And that was the one thing I loved about this game. I was like, "I'll fucking Thor up," but am I gonna kill Thor? Like, are they gonna actually let Kratos kill Thor? Like, because here's the deal: in God of War 3, when Kratos kills Hercules, that was awesome. That was fucking
yeah.
awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like, holy shit, we killed Hercules. Like, we fucking killed Kevin Sorbo. And it was Kevin Sorbo playing Hercules. So it was kind of crazy. But I was just like, that was an amazing rush for me. And again, these are the things that I loved about the original game. Those little nods to like ancient Greece and oh my god, what was the fucking dude from Clash of the Titans? In God of War 2, and he's invisible, and the only way you can see him is because he's running in the water. The Perseus, things like that. Man, look, I love all of that stuff. I loved it. So I'm like, are we going to actually kill Thor? Shit, we killed Heimdall, and I was like, oh.
Yeah,
That was pretty freaking dope.
That was the most satisfying kill in the game for me.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I was like, oh shit. So I'm like, are we really going to kill Thor? Because they are actively working on Thor's character in this game. They are actively making Thor calm down like they already had Kratos calm down. Like you see it, and I love that. I love that progression with Thor. So that was the other character that, we did get significant deaths in this game because when Kratos spares Thor's life, this is the turnaround. This is the turnaround. And there's Odin. And there's Odin being a fucking idiot. And I dug that. I fucking did. I love that. That was the thing. I love the character arcs. Everybody had a dope arc. Everybody had one. Freya, Thor, not really Atreus. He did, but he didn't. He was a teenager. He was making mistakes, and that's what I love. His arc wasn't. It's not his arc. It was Kratos' arc in that term to at the end say, "All right, I'm not gonna be the overprotective father. Go forth on your own journey. You have my blessing." So it really wasn't like Atreus' arc per se. It was more in line with Kratos, but just things like that, man. I loved it. Sindri's arc is crazy as hell.
Yeah, and now Sindri's arc is who knows where that's going.
Exactly, from being super clean and very what's the word where you don't like to be dirty? I forget the name.
Germaphobe.
A germaphobe, a high germaphobe. To you see his eye, like his eyes are bloodshot. He hasn't slept. His arm is all dirty. His sleeves are ripped up. His hands are gnarly. Like he's a fucking his hair's all fuck. He's a mess, and he doesn't give a shit no more. And that's like, yeah, I don't think Sindri will turn bad. I'll tell you that right now. I'm gonna go back to what you were saying before when you were like, you don't know where this goes. I understand what you're saying because what I was saying last week was, we know where this is going to end. And the way I was looking at it was the same way the original God of War 2 ended. It's going to end on that certain cliffhanger. We're not going to get the whole thing. We're going to get a satisfying fight, but it's going to set up the next one. I am so happy they did not do that. I really am so happy they did not do it. When Odin died, I was like, oh shit. And the way he died, taking the soul, I was like, double oh shit. Because basically that means Odin can come back to life. His soul is in the marble. His soul is in the marble. They put the marble in the snake mouth in the Agrabog's grandmother's house. The snake came back to life.
And you have Jormungandr.
Yeah, exactly. So it's shit like that. I'm like, okay. The third game, I'll tell you right now how you do the third game. It's so simple. It's the Giants. It is the Giants. It comes down to father versus son. It's the Giants. That is your main villains. The same way the Titans became the fucking enemy in God of War 3. You went to find the Titans to bring an end to Zeus. In God of War 3, all of a sudden, you're fighting every single Titan. You have to kill him. You killed Gaia for crying out loud. And God has been with you since day one. So it's the Giants. I guarantee you, because that was Atreus' journey. He was like, they're still out there. I'm going to go find them.
That would be nuts.
And that's where they're going with it. That has to be where they're going with it. You know? Sindri don't like Kratos, but he really don't like Atreus because Atreus was the one, he wanted this so bad, and it turned out to bite him in the ass.
Yeah.
You know?
But then it just makes me wonder, like, what would that retcon everything in this game?
What retcon? There's no retcon.
Well, like, if they did go with Kratos fighting Atreus, you know, that would I wonder if that would in a regard potentially set up to where Kratos wouldn't get his Jotunheim arc at the end of the game.
I see.
Of where he's being worshipped.
So the way I took that was, which by the way, I love that shrine. I was like, oh, I looked at that as Kratos just being like, it's not about worship, right? Because here's the thing. And it could be still too. What if Kratos is it is God of War. It's not God of War's son. All right? It's called God of War, and Kratos is the God of War. Loki will never be a God of War. He's not in any way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? In any kind of mythology. He's not a God of War. He's a God of mischief. You know? So this is always going to end with Kratos. He better come out on top all the time. But if it is the Giants, and now that Odin is gone, the Giants look at the rest of the realm as theirs for the taking. And the one leading that charge is Atreus. Here's the one thing I will say. Atreus kind of did have an arc. He became very, charming. He became very charming in he had a boyhood charm to the way he spoke to people. He can get his way by the way he spoke to people. That's a mischievous thing to have. And he's the god of mischief. You know?
I could also see it where the Giants, see it as theirs for the taking, but they also turn on Atreus.
I could see that too. Because Atreus' thing, even at the end of this game, and this is one of those things I did love, again, not really, well, yeah, it is a character arc. Actually, it is a character arc for Atreus, because at the beginning, he's like, yeah, no, we're gonna kill him. We have to kill him. Like, we have to do this, right? Because I need my father to stay alive. So Odin has to die. And then at the very end, he wasn't willing to kill Odin.
Yeah, Odin I thought that was.
Odin
I was kind of shell-shocked by that. I was like, this is what they set up to do, and then they get to it, and he's just going to leave him there. He would have died when Suitor blew up Ragnarok.
He could have, but here's the deal with that too. Ragnarok, right? Ragnarok is just destroying Asgard, not
Right.
destroying the gods themselves. He's just destroying their realm. That's what Ragnarok is. The fall of Asgard. So Odin could have gotten away. He could have went. He could have been on Midgard chilling in
Yeah.
a hut. You know what I'm
And
saying?
it makes me wonder if they would do something like introduce Hela or go with because apparently Balder had a kid as well. So it makes me wonder if those characters would ever show up at all either.
Maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, like it's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's also, and I don't know if this is a part of the rest of the quest for 100%, but you also have uh the new Queen of the Valkyries who hates Freya. You know,
Yeah.
so if that doesn't happen in this game, which I don't know, from what I've seen, what I'm seeing right now, we're going after Berserkers and the Berserker King at the end, just like we did Valkyries and then the Valkyrie Queen in the first one, right? So maybe that's something that gets tied up in the third game. You know, maybe she uses Sindri. Maybe Sindri's hatred blinds him. I mean, we're all speculating here. We can never ever know
Right.
until there's some kind of announcement for God of War 3, which obviously has to come. You know what I mean? I don't think they
Yeah,
can
there
end this
has
here.
to like if they don't do a DLC or anything, there has to be some like I expect something in some shape or form.
I don't think a DLC is necessary because the game is so big on its own. It's a huge
Right.
game. Again, it's bigger than the 2018 game.
I
The,
mean,
the 2018
right
game had
now,
nothing.
yeah, right now with me saving it last night after the credits rolled and after I attended the funeral and stuff like that, it said I was 57 hours and 3 minutes in.
Uh,
Out of the 60, but you mind you, I didn't go for the 100% completion because they really make it where we want people to play the game after
yeah,
the fact.
yeah, they do
And
because there's a lot of
I
backtracking.
I tried the Crucible out in Muspelheim, the Muspelheim trials again, and it's doable, but it was so overwhelming and it got so boring and tedious. I'm like, I got to come back at another day when I'm ready to devote time into it because it got so tedious and it's so confusing this time around. It's honestly not, in my opinion, fun. So I'm
Not
like,
like in
I
the
have
first
to
game.
wait.
Not like the first game.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say is these challenges are so much easier than the first game. But
Oh,
at least in the first game, you can pick and choose which challenges, and like this time you have to do 15 of them, and then ultimately in the last game you only had to do a total of 8.
okay.
And yeah, a lot of them were a pain in the ass, but once you learn how to do them, which I did, you remember which ones are the easiest and how to do it. And that's only if you're wanting to get the best gear in the game, which like, and with this, yeah, I do, but it's like they make like the way you do the trials depends on what gear you get, and I don't like that. So it's like if I do this mission in this arena and then this mission in that arena, it's going to make some weird gear for this armor piece, and then or it gives me this armor piece, and it's like it's too confusing. And then on top of that, fighting the bosses, like the one boss battle I'm on right now, for the arena is like you have to kill 5 mini bosses, which isn't that big of a deal. But I ultimately I did lose, so I'm like, yeah, it's too much for me. So I'm gonna just come back to it at a later date, and I'll finish the story since pretty much there's nothing really in the game outside of Vanaheim. And that's another thing I want to bring up why I feel like it wasn't ready yet, because there's nothing in Helheim. There's nothing like I wouldn't say nothing. There are things you can get, but not as big as like Midgard. And Vanaheim is the biggest realm in the game that you
Yeah,
are in.
it definitely is, and it's annoying.
Yeah. And I just finished all of Vanaheim yesterday.
Did you really?
And what's that?
You really, you did.
Yeah, I finished all of Anaheim, other than the after credit stuff, or the Berserker stuff and the
okay, so
Remnant Tears. But I did all the like side quests and stuff like that.
Everything in Vanaheim because there's a couple of things that you need. So I think I did all the Berserkers. I think I have one Berserker left in Vanaheim. I'm not 100% sure, but I think. But there's like the stags now that I'm doing for probably the best introduced character of all, Ratatoka, whatever his name is, Ratatouille. Oh my god, I love that. Oh, Ratatoska, I love that character. That shit is such a fucking relief. He's like the animal version of Mimir. Comic relief, but also kicking nothing but knowledge and wisdom and just a cool fucking character all around. I love that character. So I'm doing like I'm trying to bring back the dragons for him, the baby dragons for him. And then there's another quest that, if I'm not mistaken, it actually the quest starts in Vanaheim. And it's you gotta bring these stags for the 4 stags of the seasons, I guess.
Yeah.
Back to the tree so they can eat and keep the tree maintained. I only got one. There was another stag all the way down on the bottom of Vanaheim. The bottom part of Vanaheim where you come out of the portal. If you look to the left, you can see the stag there. But trying to get to that motherfucker, I needed Freya. And I had Atreus with me. So now that I'm 100%, not 100%, now that I've been in the game and Freya is your companion, I can go back now, open that part that only Freya could open up, and try to find that stag. But it's things like that. See, I like that because now it's this. This is what I love about the game. It's the exploration with these characters, but it's now the dialogue, right?
Right.
The little nuggets of fucking information about the original series that I absolutely love, and I really love this for the game. I absolutely love it, and I give massive props to everybody involved doing this. So like there's a sequence, you're rowing your fucking boat, going wherever the hell. I think I was in Vanaheim, and they asked Kratos, they asked him about being a god and his powers and shit, and they're like, yo, where is it? He was like, I lost everything when I left the realm. And I was like, that is so dope. Or Atreus asking him, if you don't like those blades, why not get rid of them? He goes, you don't think I tried? They always find their way back. And I love that. Oh, it's things like that. Or the best one.
Well, he also says he tried fucking killing himself. And
I didn't get there.
Oh, okay.
I probably did, but I don't know. But my favorite one was today. I'm in Dwarfenheim. See how I don't call them by their real names. I don't fucking.
I know.
Dwarfenheim, Mustafarheim, because that's
Mustafar.
Elfenheim, but you know what I'm talking about. The only one that makes sense is Helheim. Like that's legit. But no, I'm in Dwarfenheim, and Mimir asked me as I'm rowing the boat. He goes, brother, I heard you were in a tournament one time. And I'm like, where is this going? Tournament? Bro, he was talking about the PlayStation 3 exclusive of Mortal Kombat. I lost my fucking shit, bro. I was dying. I was like, yo, this is fucking fantastic.
Did you listen to his one about his favorite food?
Olives?
Yeah. And then Mimir's like, what the fuck's an olive? And that's what was funny, because when we were talking about it last week with JR, and he brought up an olive with his Bloody Mary or whatever he was having or something. And I'm like, that's funny, because he just made this big old thing about an olive. I love that. That made me crack up so much.
That was fucking good. I will say one.
Yeah,
I will say one thing. I want to talk about because I heard your grievances, right? And I actually do want to get back to the technicality, the technical standpoints of why you think this game wasn't finished yet. I do want to get back into that because that's important, and I'm interested in that. Um, because from last week when you were talking about the game is buggy, I actually ran into a couple more bugs, like literally right after we podcast, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And there was one particular
yeah, it's
bug
because
that's
you noticed them probably.
no, no, dude, it was one particular bug that constantly popped up on me, and I was like, "All right, this is getting annoying." And it wasn't all the time, but it was like I'll just say it. It was a fucking stutter. It was kind of like when you're playing an online game and you're lagging. It was a lag, and I'm like,
Yeah,
this shouldn't happen when you're playing a downloaded game on disc. That's not multiplayer. That's not an online
yeah,
thing.
and not only that, there's been 3 updates since the game has come out, and they have not fixed any of these bugs.
And I have not downloaded any of the updates because all it keeps saying is for like online use or some stupid shit. I'm like, I'm just playing the game. Like this is not the game to play. Like they got it after what was it? Was it what was the Gears of War God of War oh my god Ascension? Wasn't that the one where they introduced like multiplayer and shit?
Yeah,
Like after that they never did it again. Oh, even though that was the last God of War game up until 2018. But you know what I'm saying. They never did it again. That bothered me. I was like, why am I getting caught in this weird fucking stutter lag in the game? And because here's the deal. The whole idea of walking on the world tree between realms is so it can load up whatever world you're going
right.
to. So there should be none of that. It should absolutely be none of that. It's not an online game. You don't run into people. Like if we're playing at the same time, I'm not going to run into you on your quest. It's not that type of
Right.
game. So that's and not just this. I think that goes for like all of it because I'll tell you something. Um, that happened to me with my Miles Morales Spider-Man game, and I was pissed. I was like, "What the fuck?" I had the same issue. That's why I've only played that game one time when I first got it because there was a lot more in that game than it was in God of War. In Ragnarok, that must have happened maybe 6 times, sporadically over this week. But it got to a point where like I'm about to fight a boss and then it just starts to fucking do this stutter lag and I'm like, oh, whoa. Thank goodness when it comes back, I mean, it's at the same exact spot. The boss didn't move up on me. I didn't move left when I was going right. You know what I mean? But to me, that is a technical issue that should not be there, man. That's quality control all the way. That needs to be fixed. But that aside, because I want to get back to your technical points. Story-wise, if there was one thing, Brother Chase, one thing that I absolutely disapprove of in this game, and the first game, and these two games, period, but more in this game, is the lack of love or sorrow that Kratos shows towards his previous wife and his daughter Calliope. There's one part where he talks about Calliope to Freya when he's like, I know your son, you should know my daughter. And that's when and I love that part. That was honestly one of my favorite parts because that's when she was like, oh my God, you felt the loss of a child too, but you actually killed your child. Like
Yeah.
the lack of love and affection and sorrow that Kratos feels. And I get it. Maybe it's because he did that he's trying to overprotect Atreus so much. But there was a scene where you run into Faye in one of your dreams, and she's like, you protect him at all costs. And I'm just like, Kratos, I mean, like, for real, like, unless this bitch is a siren, you're under a spell right now. Like, and I'm not expecting Kratos to be full of rage because they even said, when I met your mother, we fought. Like, we were fighting for like days. and that's where we came to love one another. And I thought that was dope. I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. But it's like he meets Faye and just forgets about his past. No. There's a whole God of War game where he's trying to save his daughter. And that disappointed me. That was my one story thing that I didn't like.
I was really hoping that they would touch on Calliope and his wife. I don't remember his wife's name.
I don't think they ever gave her a name. They probably did. But as far as the games go, I don't recall it. I only remember Calliope because she is spoken of multiple times in the franchise.
And she pops up in the Greek games a few times.
Yes.
Especially in like Chains of Olympus.
Exactly.
Or not? Yeah, it is Chains of Olympus.
Chains of Olympus. Yep.
Yeah, I was really hoping that they would. Not only that, I was hoping they would indulge more of how he survived God of War 3. Because like that is still a big thing. Like, the dude sacrificed himself for hope. At the end of God of War 3, and he lived and just sailed away. And not only that, the blades are on the fucking ground as he's gone, and there's a blood trail
off the cliff,
to the ocean.
Which. So you saw that as it is an ocean, but you know what I saw that as? Because it was like the end of his world, right? Like the world was dying now that Zeus was gone. Like that was it. It was their version of Ragnarok. It was over. When you go see Surtur, and he takes you to the realm between realms or wherever the fuck that spatial
between
thing is.
Muspelheim and Niflheim.
Bro, I think that is the fucking gateway to everything. I love that. When I got that, I was like,
You're probably right.
I was like, this is gorgeous. And I swear to God, I was like, this is probably where Kratos fell. This is probably where, he didn't even know it. This is probably where Kratos fell. It was gorgeous, and it felt like the end of God of War 3, just the spatialness of it all. You look at like that galaxy, and I was so fucking hyped, and I absolutely 100% agree with you. I wish they would have, because when I saw that, that's what I thought. I was like, there's going to be a story. I'm going to be on the boat. There's going to be a story.
That's also why they did that comic series recently, the Fallen God comic series that came out before last spring. I think I'm only missing one more comic, but it said it's supposed to explain more, but as far as I'm in the comics, it hasn't even touched them yet.
What is it like Kratos in the Norse realm?
It's Kratos when he first pops up in Midgard.
Oh shit! Okay.
And I remember the reason why I got excited about it, because they were saying like this comic series is going to talk about how Kratos came to Midgard and bridge the gap. It said specifically between 3 and the 2018 game. So I'm like, okay, I will pick that comic book series up. But yeah, I'm still flabbergasted by that. Like, how does that happen? Because that's not even something he even talks about. He just says he sailed. But yeah, I definitely was hoping that Atreus would be like, did you have any other kids? Or something. I mean, of course, that would be something Atreus would talk about. I mean,
hell, when
knowing
he meets
that his father had a life before this.
Exactly. When he meets Agrabah, that's what I thought was going to happen. I thought she was going to share more of his story.
Yeah.
To Atreus, and because here's the deal, and I'm not going to lie, I swear to God, in the trailers and everything coming out before the game, I had seen a picture of her. And I didn't know who she was, what part she played, but I swear to God, I thought it was Calliope. I was like, oh my God, are they doing the Ghost of Calliope with Atreus? Like, my head was blown. Now, don't get me wrong, I was not disappointed on where they went. I actually loved that character, Agrabah. She's the only name I remember, right?
Yeah.
I loved her character. I loved her little character. She had a tiny one where, fate didn't dictate her destiny, and I thought that was dope. And that was Atreus telling her, like, your story don't have to end here. And I love that when she comes back at the end with Fenrir, which is again just this game was just chock full of dope story beats, bro. Chock full of it. It was just such a great slow burn into all of this awesomeness. But again, yeah, get like I would. I'm with you, man. I would have loved that if Trey is asked and Mimir goes real quiet, or he kind of like says something to Kratos along the lines of, "Do you want to tell the lad?" And then Kratos does that, but then he gets and he starts talking to his son, not speaking to him, talking to him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Having that open-hearted one-on-one, like, yes, you have a sister. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's not here. Oh my bro, because like you said in the beginning, there's a lot of tear-jerking moments in this fucking game. A lot. At the end this morning, when I did the funeral, I can't lie, I wasn't here blubbering idiot, but yo, I had to wipe my eye. I was like, oh shit, damn, that shit just coming out.
And how fitting it's a Viking funeral. Out to sea he goes in a blaze. No, I love that part too, but that's why I'm like, wow, the way they ended that funeral too, talk about a really, really bittersweet moment, or just not bittersweet, but just there's definitely shit coming on.
And that's the thing I love about it. That's the beauty of it. When you say what goes next, those are the seeds that are being planted.
Yeah.
Those are the seeds being planted, and I love that. So, I mean, I don't think there's going to be any downloadable content. What I could potentially see happen is they do a shoot, an offshoot, like they did with Spider-Man Miles Morales, where you had your main game, and then they did this like a couple of years later, where you can have Atreus' quest. You know what I mean? And it just focuses on Atreus. Would I personally do that? No. I'd save it for the third game. But if you're going to tie the third game into it and make the third game about the Giants coming back and trying to take over, then maybe that is your setup and jump-off point. And in that regard, I'm down.
Yeah, and I also think, too, I think there's still so much, if you just take a minute to think about it, there's even still stuff that could possibly still happen with Asgard as well, because even though Asgard was, for what we felt, think and prophesize, is destroyed with what we saw, what if someone did survive that? What if there is some god amongst the closets that did so happen to survive somehow or whatever? And I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just thinking, because just the way it's left off, it's not mentioned after that, just that it's destroyed. It's not like we can go back to it at all. It's like, it depends. It makes me wonder, like, what, I mean, especially if Hela, which is supposed to be a person in the game, does show up, she would be a pretty vengeful person.
Well, I'm thinking that she was, see, because, all right, and here's the God's honest truth, right? I don't follow Norse mythology, okay? I get my Norse mythology from Marvel Comics, right? I know who Thor and Odin is because of those comic books. Balder was a part of the Warriors 3 or 4, or whatever the case may be. Lady Sif, you know what I'm saying, was not married to Thor, because Thor in the comic books has, Jane and shit. So, like, all of that stuff, like, I'm a complete sucker and I have no idea, right? I don't. So then the Marvel movies come out and you see the depictions of those characters, and when I hear, oh my god, oh fucking shit. Oh my god, the fucking guy, we kicked his ass. Heimdall. When I hear Heimdall, first thing I think of course, is
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba, right? And I know that's not the case. I've seen Heimdall in the comics. It's not Idris Elba, it's a white dude. But so, like, I start thinking along those lines, right? Where was I going with this? I was going somewhere. There was a place I was going. So that being said, Hela, for instance. So, like, all right, you see, they not that they're taking any liberties, right? Not because that's not true. In my head, I only think of the Marvel comic books and how those characters are depicted. So when you actually read outside of God of War, like if you go into Norse mythology and you read up on it and you look at pictures on how they would depict it then, different story. You know what I mean? So to me personally, because you can take liberties with certain characters, I think, I don't know if this is a fact, but I think Hela is actually the eagle in Helheim.
Okay.
And did you get to the part where they asked Mimir how did he get the forces of hell to join us for Ragnarok? Did you get to that part yet? Where they start talking when you're on a boat after the funeral. Well, it was after the funeral for me. Actually, it's even before that. It's right when if you stay on the sled in Midgard after the game, after you beat it, Freya asks Mimir how did he do it.
I did not get on the sled, but I walked a bit.
Okay.
See, I right after I left the temple, I went to Rotosker so he gives you the bag of seeds, so you can realm travel. And then I went to Jotunheim, and that was it.
Okay, so I have like the other day at work, Tuesday at work, I printed out a guide, and it's actually it's for the 100% completion, and it says like right at the very beginning, it goes, this guide is for after you beat the game, and it says you're gonna have a lot of the stuff already here through regular story progression, but this guide is gonna have all of that stuff and everything you couldn't get during a normal story progression for the spear and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay. So the first place on it that you have to go, that it says to go to, is Dwarfenheim. And right now, I'm at the last fucking spot, and I'm at the damn Berserker fucking Berserker grave, and two of those motherfuckers come out, and I'm playing it on the easiest motherfucking thing. And it keeps
I know what boss battle you're talking about.
The I guess they're husband and wife. One's like purple, the other one's green. The guy is green and the woman's purple. Bro, and I'm talking about I'm kicking their ass and they fucking cheese me. It's the worst cheese since a Marvel vs. Capcom game. It's insane, bro. It's worse than Street Fighter cheesing. I was pissed. So that's where I'm stuck at. And then my controller died. My batteries died, so I'm charging it now because I'm gonna charge them again later. But so that's how I'm doing it. I'm doing it off this guide. Because it takes you step by step and it tells you the reason why you're here now, so you don't have to backtrack to it later. You know what I'm saying? And I think that to me that's a good job that somebody's done for people like me that do want to get the 100% now, without having to do all this backtracking. So like let's say I started off in Dwarfenheim and I go here instead of where they tell me to go first, and I don't get everything. Then I go there. There's buried treasure I can't get because I didn't get the map. I had to get the map in the first place. They told me. Now I got to go back. I appreciate the time saving aspect of it. So, but that's how I'm playing it. That's what I'm doing.
I think I just found recently I just found all the books, the poems.
Oh, that's dope. I've got what is it, 13? Is it 13 books? I think I counted
13.
14. So I think I got 10. I've got 4 more to go. I got the first, I hope I got the first 10. There was one in the middle that I missed, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? What? How? But
yeah, I was mad because when I was playing all of Vanaheim with me and Atreus, I went back to get a legendary chest that I didn't know you could get. But it says you can get it, and it says you need Freya to do it, and I'm like, oh, yes, man,
dude, that's what that's what it was with the stag. I was like, all right, the stag's over here, so I go back down that way, right? And then I'm with Atreus, and then he's like, oh, my magic's not strong enough to do this. You might need Freya, and I'm like, motherfucker. So then that's what freaked me out because I'm like, this was before the end of the game. This is before we go to Ragnarok. let's talk about Ragnarok. Let's talk real quick. Let's just talk about probably one of the greatest sequences in a God of War game, Ragnarok. Because it while it didn't really feel like war, it felt like a war. It felt like I was in the trenches almost, you know?
Yeah.
Running and fighting, and it was kind of crazy seeing the things happening in the background with the giant snake, Mjorgen, you know what I'm talking about.
Jormungandr,
yeah. Like, all, Fenrir, oh my God, fucking Fenrir, another thing, bro. Oh my God, the hellhound. I'm just, there was so much stuff to encompass, and then this is why this game was. I can't knock it and say that this game didn't deserve a 10 from IGN. I can't knock it. I understand why they gave it a 10. It ticked all the fucking boxes, and but there's glitches, there's all that stuff. But Ragnarok, do you feel the same way I feel? Do you feel that this was kind of epic in scope, running through this war?
Oh yeah, multiple parts, especially like in Vanaheim when you pick up Freyr and he's like injured, can't run, and you're running through with him on your back.
I forgot about that part. Was dope.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally. And what I thought was really cool was just the fact that Kratos is a general again, and he's their general, and he is basically he rewrote what happened in the first God of War game, and Ares, and all that, it's when he falls in battle and is like, kill my enemies and I'm yours. It's a total rewrite, and I thought that was great.
I absolutely. When I played Ragnarok, I played Ragnarok last night. Yesterday, yep, it was yesterday. So I had some stuff to take care of in the morning. I came home and I started playing, and I did not stop playing. And then, shameless plug, not for the G Show page, but for my brother JR, who is always a part of the G Show. On his channel, we did a wrestling live stream because yesterday was the WWE Survivor Series. So I'm playing the game. I'm at the end. He starts calling me to get on the live stream, and I'm like, no. There's still like an hour and a half before the show starts. What are you doing? And I'm not texting him back. I'm just like, I'm shutting the shit down so I can focus on Ragnarok. JL, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but that's what happened. But I played from, let's say, 12 in the afternoon. I gave it a good solid almost 4 hours, 4.5 hours. And that's where I was, like, in that time span. And then I did a couple of random things throughout the rounds, and then I was like, all right, it's Ragnarok time. Let's fucking do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I dug it. I really did. I love that the Siege of Asgard. I thought it was dope. Could there have been a little bit more? Maybe. But what I got did not disappoint. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially because I was playing on easy. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I played it like you did. I played it on the hardest level. That's not true.
Playing it on Give Me God of War mode made it very, very frustrating.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just want the story. That's why, no, true story. I thought you would have beaten this game already. But because you were playing on such a hard difficulty, I was like, oh, I'm way past him. And then you would say, hey, are you here yet? And I'm like, oh, shit, no. I was like, are you sure he's playing on the hardest difficulty? But I digress. I did, and I loved it. I thought it was great. All of the characters played a part. You run into everybody, and they're all doing their thing, and I loved it. And then, of course, when Sindri in the house, when they're prepping this whole thing, you go here and recruit this. You go here and recruit that. You go, and they were like, well, who's going to go to Dwarfenheim? And then Sindri just comes out. He's like, I'll do it. Sindri, I said, I'll do it. And then he just walks off. Oh, my God. I mean, again, the anguish of this dude. Like, I loved it.
And then he ended up being the only one that showed.
And he ended up being the only one that... Bro. Oh, man, it was dope. It was dope. And the way he interacted with Atreus, because you're Atreus at that point. And you're running. And that was another thing. I love that shift. You're Kratos, you're doing your thing. You're with Freya, you're with Atreus. I love the idea that you could, you got the party of 3 going at everybody, right? I dug that. And then boom, now you're just Atreus and with Sindri. And Sindri's just treating you like shit. Whereas in the beginning of the game, usually the best of friends. Sindri's covering for you. Come on, get out of the house. I got you. Don't worry. Come on, let's go do this. Let's take care of that. Or whatever you want. I'll make this for you so you can find your way. I love that, man. It was heartbreaking to see how that relationship went from being up here to going down to there.
Yeah.
And it was a twofold thing. It was one, when Atreus became a spoiled brat in the middle of the game, right? Before he went to Asgard, and turned into a bear in Sindri's house and attacked everybody, and he hurt Sindri. And Sindri was gonna forgive. He was forgiving him. He's like, all right, I will forgive you eventually. I'm not mad. It is what it is. But the death of Brock, Sindri was like, no, fuck you. I don't talk to me, kid. I'm here because this dude got to go for Brock, not you. For my brother. Oh God, he killed me, bro. Killed me. So good, so good. Exquisite storytelling, man. But again, also fun. Running through the game, fighting all of the Asgardian warriors. The dead souls come back to life. You kill them, they come back. I loved all of it. Fighting the how do you say that? Wyvern, the baby dragons, whatever you call those things.
Oh, the one that he said looked like Zilla.
No. That thing. That was the mother of all of those. The
lindworms.
The lindworms. The rum tears that we going to collect for Raptoska. No, I'm talking about like the dragons. Those little dragons. The ones with the wings. The small ones. They look like birds, and you fight them.
Oh, the cockatrices.
Is that what they call?
I believe so. I think that's what they were calling them. That's what they normally are outside of like the game. So I don't know, but I know what you're talking about. The fucking ostrich-looking dragons.
Yes. The ostrich ones. Those. It was a good time, man. It was a good time, and even the Odin fight. Like I was glad I was playing on easy because I was like, oh shit, and I can't believe I didn't die. I learned the pattern quick, so I was handling business, but man, that Odin battle was, well, fuck that. You gotta talk about the Thor battle first. First off, that Thor battle with Kratos was crazy, and I can't lie, I died twice. And I was like, I got a resurrection stone, why can't I resurrect?
Right.
I was pissed.
Me playing, I died tons of times. But then my brain catches on to its patterns and how it works. And I'm like, all right, I got it down now. Yeah, man, what I was just happy with was that Kratos eventually, it was the one, yeah, Thor's tough, but he's not as tough as Kratos.
And that was foreshadowed in the beginning of the game. When Thor was like, nope, I'm not. He even brought him back to life because he kills Kratos. In the beginning of the game, and he brought him back to life. He's like, no. You don't get off that easy. Show me who you are. And then when Kratos does the rage, he's like, our blood debt is paid. Thank you very much. And he flies off. Oh, dude, fuck that. Wait. The barroom brawl is probably the best part of the game. Oh, shit. Dude, it was fantastic. I was like, oh my God. I'm having a barroom brawl in Asgard right now with Atreus, Thor, and Thor's daughter, Thrud. I loved it. It was fantastic. See, it's things like that, man. If I had a problem with the first game, it wasn't pacing. It felt slow. There was a lot of traveling, And again, the only thing I could compare that to at the time in terms of God of War is the original God of War games where, no, my fingers are constantly moving like I'm getting cramps. I'm getting blisters because I'm constantly pressing the buttons. Whereas with this one, it's not like that. It's more very slow burn and a story. This one, it was a nice balance. It really was. It was like, okay, story, and I wanted feed me, and then bam, you're in a bar and you got to fight. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? I loved it. I don't think there was one time where I was kind of upset at a story part of the game where it kind of slowed anything down. So that's a plus. And I'm pretty sure I might be lying, but I honestly don't think. And if it was probably right at the beginning of the game. So and that shit is 51 hours. What did you say? You said 56?
57.
57. I think I hit my last save was at 50 or 51 hours. But you got 7 more hours because of the difficulty.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, I don't think it counts when you pause the game, but if it does, there's a lot of time crunching I got to do with that too, because I had the game, I would be at like playing, and if I took a break, I'd have it pause for like a minute or 10 minutes or so. So, I did that quite a few times. But yeah, another thing I wanted to bring up with why I felt like, it's unfinished was, well, for an example was when I got to the ending and Atreus is talking to Freya, the words were not matching with the subtitles on my screen.
I ran into that problem a couple of times.
Yeah. And that's all sound design. But then also, like I said, why I felt like I don't think the game was necessarily wasn't ready yet. Like, I think the main part of it was, but I think there were some things maybe they wanted to do or add, and they didn't get the chance to, and like, all right, fine. But like there's certain places like so, and thinking about it, with Vanaheim being the biggest place in the game to go to, which is fair, there's a lot of story development there. I was expecting there to be a little bit more with Muspelheim this time around, like exploration wise. I was expecting a little bit more with Niflheim and Helheim, and those 3 realms have very, very minimal exploration. Now they are very like certain quest centricated places, like with minor things, and but it just felt like there could have been more added to these, and it just makes me wonder if they just didn't get the chance.
I do agree with you. I do agree with you with Muspelheim, and see, I'm saying it wrong. So Mustafar and Helheim, and Helheim was like you go there real quick and you come right back, pretty much.
Yeah.
I haven't gone there yet to collect the 100% from that realm, so I don't know. But I do kind of disagree with Alfheim, because when you go to the sands, it's pretty big. There's some fun stuff to do there, like
yeah, Alfheim wasn't the one I was really thinking of.
Okay.
I think that one. I said Helheim and Niflheim. So the place with the Odin ravens on the tree, and then Helheim, which is the ice.
Wait, Niflheim. Which one is that?
Niflheim is the one in the first game where you go and you have to do Invaldi's workshop, and it's the obstacle course with the cursed mist. And then in this one, it's the giant tree that has all the Odin ravens.
Okay. I'm sorry. So, all right, I got you. For whatever reason, I was thinking of the elves' homeland. That's what I thought you said. Yes, because I'll be honest with you, Niflheim in the first game is where I got the greatest armor in the whole fucking game.
Right.
It's where you get the greatest armor. That shit gives you back some health. Like, I don't give a fuck. That was the best armor. Best armor. In both games. Because I don't like none of this armor and this shit.
Yeah. And see, what's funny is so I upgraded 2 of my 3 armor pieces to the level 9, and I can now customize the way they look now.
What?
And which is fun. What's that?
You could do that?
Yeah, when you upgrade all your armor to level 9, it gives you the option to change its appearance.
Hold on, Hold on,
So,
we have a somebody in the chat. Unbelievable. JR's game. The original God of War 2 is the best. Oh boy. Let's see if he replies to that. And if he does, if he's listening, pimp your channel in the chat so we can link it.
This is all spoiler reviews for the Ragnarok God of War, JR. You might want to close your ears or just not watch.
But go ahead, brother.
But yeah, you can upgrade your armor to level 9 and you can change its appearance. And what's funny is that I learned that if you keep Kratos's armor he starts with in the beginning of the game,
mm-hmm.
and you upgrade it all those pieces to level 9, that becomes the best armor in the game.
Oh my god.
Aside from like defense and strength, it gives you stat increases to everything. And I think that where the trade-off is like if you do like, let's say the Steinborn armor, which is the one armor you're getting, I believe for fighting the Berserkers, which is supposed to be the strongest armor in the game. The trade-off is just in defense and strength, and it's off by like 20 points, which isn't that big of a deal, but still kind of is dumb. But yeah, if you upgrade Kratos's armor that he gets in the beginning of the game, his pauldron and stuff, because they say specifically Kratos likes armor that he can move fast in. If you upgrade all that armor, it gives you stat increases to every stat. Runic, health, strength, defense, all of that.
Wow.
Vitality, everything. And it's all 3 pieces that do that.
That's crazy because right now my chest armor is the dragon scale. My waist armor is the first berserker I fought. My wrist armor is, oh god, I don't remember what that one is. It was early in the game, but not too early. I was a couple hours deep with those, but I liked the stats on it. It had my defense up, it had my strength up, it had my vitality up, and I think that's why I kept it, because I was like, yeah, I need those 3. Those are my 3. I'm trying to look for cooldown now, so I've been trying to do it with the amulets.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm like, strength and defense. Because when you told me last week, you do the defense thing, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. But I suck. Yeah. I gotta be honest. I fucking suck. I cannot fucking parry. I cannot fucking block. It's pissing me off, and that's one of the things I hate about this game.
And that's one of the things too. I was gonna mention that also doesn't feel like it's finished because the parrying is not on par as with me. The first game, the parrying was fine, but with this game, like. The windows and the way they connect, sometimes if you press the parry, it doesn't give it to you.
Exactly.
And that makes me very frustrated.
It's like you said, it's like the sound was off. The mouth was moving, but the subtitles weren't going. And that's how I feel with parrying. I'm like, this is off. I see the yellow thing, the circle gets small, I hit L1, and I get smashed.
Yeah.
What?
And sometimes it won't even get the indicator to parry.
Yeah,
they'll just attack, and it's like, how was I supposed to know to block? And I mean, I pay attention, so of course I catch on. Okay, if that doesn't show up, put my shield up right before they make contact with my body. But sometimes that's hit or miss.
Exactly.
And so it's like, fuck, and I got frustrated quite a bit, but yeah, man, the one thing I wanted to bring up to you, though, is how did you feel about the drop in your spear? When you get that, and it shows him with the shield and the spear, having that be the callback to Sparta.
It was the flag that did it. That's what really gave me the callback. I was like, oh my god, they put
the
flag on it.
The blood flag.
That was dope. I was like, hell yeah, bro. This is Sparta, bitch. It's a cool weapon.
It's only meant for Heimdall.
Yeah, it really is. Well, I used it on Odin. I used it quite a bit, actually. You'll be surprised. There's certain enemies that take severe damage off of that thing.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things that I kind of did like about the game too. The balance of the weapons. You know, like right now, I'm fighting those two freaking berserkers, and I'm like, it seems like the Blades of Chaos is the only thing working that's taking significant chunks off of them. But then if I flip it to the spear and I do, you know, whatever the light runic attack is, because I got that maxed out, it, if I can hit them, it takes chunks. Chunks. But at the same time, once that's done, the spear is useless against them. You know, and then the same thing with the axe. Like the axe, that's the problem. Like with the axe, it's slow. I'm like, damn, come on. So I use the blades for pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like it. I love the callback. I really, really did. At the same time, there should have been more story beats. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
There should have been more story beats to that. And I'm not mad, and I'm still not mad at the game at all. But
I like the part where he says it needs to be blessed by a blacksmith, and he has Brock bless it. I thought that was a cool little thing.
That was pretty freaking dope. That really was dope.
And then follows off with telling Odin that if he doesn't give him back his son, he's going to show him the god he once was.
Which again, that's what I'm waiting for. So, all right. Where was I wanted to say combat? While I've gotten used to it over the 50 plus hours I've played it, I'll just say it. It's not one of my favorite things. It's still not. I don't like that they can get around you and you can't see them. I mean, granted, it's more realistic if you were in this position. Like, you can't see what's coming behind you unless you look behind you. But if you find somebody in front of you, it's a video game. I always like that over the top third person feel, so I can get a better surrounding, right? I can get a better look at my surroundings. I can juke and dodge when I need to. So the little red arrow that pops up, I'm really not paying attention to because I'm trying to pay attention to how much fucking health I'm taking off of this dude. This is one of the problems with these versions of God of War. It becomes an RPG. I hate RPGs. I'm not a fan. But at the same time, I love God of War as a franchise. It's one of my favorites of all time. Literally, it's up there. It's top 3, if not number 1. It's a coin toss. And this goes with it. The 2018 and Ragnarok goes right in there. It goes with them because it's God of War. It's not like, let's say, for movie's sake, it's not like Star Wars. Star Wars, the original trilogy, is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire lifetime in terms of, you know, science fiction, space opera shit. Then they did the prequels. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? It took me a while to warm up to some of... When I first seen them, I loved all of them. Don't get me wrong. But now I understand. Revenge of the Sith, it goes right there with the fucking first 3. But what I'm trying to say is, like, in terms of franchises, these 2 God of War games, they go right in. They fit perfectly in. But again, the combat, it drives me crazy. I like to see my surroundings. The original was not broke. It was the perfect fucking action game. The perfect action game. In terms of hack and slash, it was the greatest one. It really was. You got to see your surroundings. You can parry, juke, dodge, and it still gave you a challenge. This is different. Like, again, the little arrow on the side, I'm more focused on seeing how much power I'm taking off of this dude. Oh shit, I just got hit from behind. Damn it. That drops it down a notch, okay? Doesn't kill it. Does not kill it at all for me. But I'm just like, damn. You sacrificed combat for story, I ain't mad. But please give me some combat. Like, give me some defense. But again, like you said, maybe it's broken. Maybe the glitches are we're not able to fucking parry in time because I'm not. And it kills me because I remember I can smash a parry button and I'd be able to parry.
Yeah.
I'm
I
smashing the
did I
parry
did more
button.
dodging out of the way than parrying in this one, whereas in the 2018 game, I can sit there and parry for days.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And like with the original God of War games, parrying is second nature to me. You know, second
Yeah.
nature. And that goes for the four consoles games and the two PSP games. Parrying becomes second nature because it works. The button works. So maybe it is a quality thing. Maybe it's a quality control thing.
And it's highly possible.
Yeah. So
I mean, like I said, it doesn't take away the game from me. It's like, I mean, like, I'll adapt the way I have to, but it definitely makes me a little bit like bummed. Like, I wouldn't mind if they waited, a little bit longer on it. I don't know. I feel like the game didn't need to come out when it did. I could have waited a little bit longer. I felt like with the direction they were taking it and what they were saying initially, it seemed like the game was going to need some more time. I feel like it still needs time because we've had 3 updates, maybe 4 now, and none of the bugs on my game are fixed, and I have a digital copy of it, so it should be affected regardless. So I don't know, but like but I'm not like upset about it. I still think for what it was, for what it is, it's still all great to me. My thing now is just processing. Do I like this game more, the 2018 game more? Because there are things about them I both like, and there are things about them I both dislike, but yet trying to pick which one do I like more is kind of hard, especially because the 2018 game I've played for 4 or 5 years, well, since it came out, and have platinumed that game so many times and 100% completed that game so many times and have found every single nook and cranny in that game, and story wise have been affected by it multiple times, where this game, just having only play it once and not knowing exactly what leads next, is kind of like, I'm kind of like not too worried about it, but I'm not sure. So that's where I'm at now with it. But
so let me ask you this
ultimately,
then. Let me ask you this
what's
then.
that?
Let me ask you, is that expectations?
I do expect. I did expect them to, for me at least, I did expect them to kind of lead off of a more prominent of this is where it could go next, because everyone's big thing after 2018 was, okay, well, after the Norse mythology is done, and Cory Barlog and Eric Williams both said, like, yeah, this is the end. This is the end of the Norse saga. Now we're still in the Norse saga. Nothing really has ended, because now we're at this and that, and so it's like, where does it go? Does Atreus end up looking for gods in a different realm and then brings them to Midgard, and now we have Egypt and fucking Norse mythology clashing, which I mean is cool and possible, but I mean I don't know where it goes. I don't know. What I just don't want is for and this is how I am with all my characters, and this is how I felt with Gears of War, is I don't want my favorite character, Marcus Phoenix or Kratos, to have their story stopped at this point. Especially now. I mean, yeah, Kratos technically has this arc that it's like completed, and it's an arc he never thought, and he's essentially taking on the role of this good guy, but I don't want it to end. I would like to see Kratos go to other places and do other things and fight other gods and stuff. But the thing is, then it comes to the point, does it become the same exact game like Ragnarok, where you have to help liberate realms and stuff? And then that gets to the point where it gets kind of funky. But however, I mean, that's kind of how the first set of games was Kratos' vengeance. He still destroyed a whole realm and gods, but this game, it's protection and defense and helping for the greater good. So then it's like, where does it go? And so it's like I just don't want to. What I don't want is there to be a God of War Ragnarok 2 per se, and it be only you playing as Atreus, and it only being an Atreus story. Because like I like Atreus, but he's no Kratos. He's no God of War. And I do not see him ever getting these powers and abilities of a God of War like his dad.
He doesn't need to
So
though.
it's like,
He's a giant. He's a giant.
what's that?
He doesn't need to get those powers. He's a giant. He's the god of mischief. This is the thing. But the premise of the game is God of War. That's the name. That's the title.
Right, right. And so when we think God of War, we think Kratos, and that's how I want it to stay. So with me, I think it's impatientness because I would like to know too where it can lead or where it does go, or at least a glimpse into that. But it's oh well. I'm not gonna be too worried about that. But
Okay, I got you. Ready for this? You ready for this? You ready for this? Speculation time. It's the best part of the. It's always the best part of the podcast when we get to speculate and create our own fucking thing. This is what I would do. Not speculation. This is creative time. Creative time. This is what I would do. Okay. Kratos is done. He's finished. He did what he needs to do, right? Now he's just helping the people. People love him. Let's say Loki doesn't even come with the giants, like to take over or whatnot. You know how you continue this franchise? If Kratos was able to go from ancient Greece to Norse mythology,
yeah,
what's to stop an invading army, let's say from ancient Egypt into Midgard?
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too.
It's a defender now. He's a defender. Like you said, you had your vengeance arc, you had your protector arc, now you have your defender arc.
Yeah, and that could totally open up to a whole new storyline for Kratos as well.
And it also gives credence to that last thing we saw, the final prophecy that Faye left, if it's the final prophecy.
Yeah, and there's all this, and the how the Valkyrie, Odin's big thing was trying to prove to him that he's a pretender god and not a real god, and and it makes me wonder who else comes along to be like, yeah, you think you are a god and stuff, but you're not this, and then that could come into play too. I like that idea,
and which is crazy though too, because now you say it. Remember, Kratos really was not a god. He was not born a god. Well, he kind of was. He is Zeus' son. Never mind. Ha! He's a demigod.
Demigod,
he's a demigod. So he is a god. He has the powers of a god. Which Loki's a demigod too. But that's the thing. That's where I would go. Honestly, look. If I'm panning out the future for God of War, if I'm in charge of that, I would honestly do something. We stay in Midgard. We do the giants trying to take over, because now we can really get into the depths of Loki. Like, he has an obligation he feels to his people, the giants. And at the same time, he's like, well, my father changed for me. And so that would be something nice to explore. That would be something cool to explore. But on the other hand, too, the invasion from another realm is, I think, the way to go.
Yeah.
I
think so, too, because, like, my thing is, too, is it's not like you can continue it and have Kratos just go alone. Because you would need the same. What are you going to do? Have him go to Egypt, and instead of a talking head, it's a dead cat to his belt hip that talks? No, you can't do that.
Exactly.
You have to keep these characters that are already established. And how would you do that?
Let them come to Kratos, not Kratos go to them. Let them come to Kratos. Unless he has to jump around. But yeah, invasion. That's the way to go for the next round. Invasion.
Yeah, and maybe like in one mission or so, you go back and forth to their realm to do a few things just for a sake of tidy up, but have it ultimately take place on your front door.
Look. You remember in one of the God of War games? I don't know if it was Ghost of Sparta or Chains of Olympus, where Kratos sinks Atlantis. Remember that?
Yeah, but I can't remember if that.
It was
I
one of
think
the
that
PSP.
might be Ghost of Sparta.
Yeah, how dope was that, right? So let's just say, I'm just saying, what if Kratos went to Egypt and inspired people to build the pyramids or destroyed them? I'm so fucking down.
I just think it would be cool with watching Kratos fight Anubis, the god of death.
Dude, listen to me and listen to me carefully. Yes, please, because Kratos has fought death before. He has fought death.
It would be cool too if it was like death and it was just an incarnation and it remembers Kratos. Like, I remember you.
You see,
and then him just having that big old fucking conversation of the story he tells Atreus, and when he's going to sleep about death coming to his door and he's pleading to death to not take his life. Dude, I would be all for that.
Or did you do the one where he was telling Atreus? I don't know if you got to this one about the man with the logs on his back.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
All right, yeah, see that right there. So, dude, give it to me all. Just give it to me. Just Invasion. If you're gonna keep this franchise alive, and it's pretty much gonna stay alive because you saw the numbers, you put me onto the numbers. What did this game do, bro?
Well, as of the first week, it was like 5-point-something million units.
That's insane. That's insane. So they are crushing right now. The franchise ain't gonna die. We know this, right? It took 5 years for the franchise to come back because Ascension came out in 2013, maybe even 2012. But I think it was 2013 because I moved out here in 2013, and the whole reason why I moved here was we either move or I buy a PlayStation 3 God of War Ascension version, which was going to be gorgeous. It was red. It was gorgeous. I wanted it so bad. I digress. So it took 5 years from the end of that series to the start of this series. We are, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 4 years for this game to come out. Granted, there's a lot more technicality, and it's obviously they're bigger games than the original games. That's an obvious. That's a give me. There's a lot more to it. I get it. Do I want to wait another 4 years for another God of War? If I have to, I will.
Well, especially since Santa Monica said we're working on tons of games right now.
Maybe those games are like some of those games that like indie game type of deals, like 3-4 months. There you go. You know what I mean? Something simple, something easy. Something simple, something easy. But listen, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. At the end of the day, I want to say this. This franchise has, I don't know, done wonders for me. It is, the original games are a perfect way to release some anger that you might be feeling during your regular normal day. Hell, even these games, you can go to Muspelheim, whatever, you know what I mean? In the original one, and just let off. But it's the story that this character, Kratos, is absolutely a tragic character. From day one, he was a tragic character. The redemption arc that they're doing in this still makes him tragic, but at the same time, now you feel for him. What's missing? For me, personally, his past. And I don't mean him killing gods or being in Mortal Kombat. I mean his past, his life before all that. He was just a normal person. Oh, he was a demigod, granted, but he didn't know that until later. He had a wife, he had a kid, he killed them. His past, it would be amazing if he shared that going forward. And going forward, what does that mean? I say invasion. I'm not going to let that one go. Because, like Brother Chase said, what are you going to do? Drop him in another realm and do what? For what reason? No. Let the realms come to him. Asgard is gone. He's destroyed with Zeus, whatever realm he came from. This is a perfect opportunity to start talking about legit realm rifts. I mean, they do it now, but you know what I'm saying? Like, in regards to different religions and cultures, it's a beautiful thing, and that's why God of War remains one of the greatest franchises ever created. Like, you can take your Call of Duties and all of that shit and have a good time with it, but at the end of the day, there's no story. There's nothing there. There's no depth to it. Ragnarok came out and proved that in its entirety, not just 2018 and Ragnarok, in its entirety, God of War is something special. And I fucking love it. And I can't wait to see where they go next. Brother Chase, you got any final words?
Just to answer your question, yeah, I would say Ragnarok at this point is my game of the year. If we're talking timeline wise for the Game Awards, it definitely is. But if we're talking about just in general, I have not played Evil West yet, and I hear that game is fun as shit as well. So I'm gonna try and pick up that game when I get the chance. And but I don't see that overtopping God of War.
I got you. My game of the year right now is what did I play? Oh, game of the year, easy, hands down. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection. It's got
that's fun.
Yeah. It's got like pretty much all of my favorite games and the most hated game of all time, the original Nintendo Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. But no, that's hands down game of the year right there. I don't understand why people can't give it game of the year. It's got everything. It's got the fucking Hyperstone Ice. It's got the Super Nintendo version of Turtles in Time. It's got the real version of Turtles in Time. It's got the original Turtles Ninja Turtle arcade game. It's the greatest thing of all time. But in terms of originality, then, God of War, Ragnarok, falls second only to Power Wash Simulator. My favorite game of the year. I don't even know if that came out this year. It just came out on Game Pass this year. I'm just saying. But no, I digress. God of War is this game was something special. Ragnarok was something special. I love that they went and it seemed like they actively brought back more of Kratos' past. I love that. And yeah, again, as much as I don't personally like the action, like it's not my type of game. Like I can't say it sucked because it doesn't. It takes someone who doesn't like this shit and it puts me in a place where I can play it and I can enjoy it. Yeah. That being said, is it the better sequel? Nope. Because the original God of War trilogy, those original games, still the best. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. The stories here are better. Way better. Way better. But the originals was something special, damn it. They put Kratos on the map. Let me tell you something real quick. If 2018's God of War would have came out, and it was the only God of War to ever come out, do you think people would be on this shit like it is now? No. It'd just be like Horizon Zero Dawn. It'd be like Days Gone. It'd just be another one in the fucking wings.
You're setting up your own realm tear here, because then if the 2018 did came out first, then we'd get prequel games of what we got, telling the story of Kratos, but just all in the style of the 2018 game, combat-wise and all.
That would make me crazy. Sony Santa Monica, this is all I want. You need TC Carson to be Kratos again. You do. I don't care what anybody says. You do. Even if he's not going to be Kratos for the long haul. But there needs to be, in the next God of War, a flashback. It's the only way you can do it. Because I don't like fully bearded Kratos. I want goatee Kratos.
There you go. You have TC Carson come back as young Kratos when he's fighting death.
That's
and
it.
then it's like Christopher Judge's Kratos is telling this story.
I'm so down for that. But anyway, that will do it for this edition of God of War review. I am so happy we did this. I actually had a good time. Brother Chase, thank you for joining us.
Oh, dude, it was fun. I'm glad I got to talk about it. I've been sitting in since I went to sleep last night. Since I woke up, I've been like, man, how do I process this? So talking about it with you definitely opens that floodgate for this therapy session.
Sweet. And I'm looking over now. Right now, my controller is fully charged, so I'm going to go and fight those two berserkers in Dwarfelheim, and I'm going to kick their ass. I don't care. I'm probably not, but I'm going to try. So that'll do it, ladies and gentlemen, for this episode of the G Show podcast. This is our God of War Ragnarok review. I am G1, and we are out of here. Peace.